This afternoon, Human Rights Division of the Accra High Court strikes out Chief Justice Tokonu's application for judicial review, describing it as an abuse of the court processes and for lack of jurisdiction.
Also to come, Parliament approves request by government to dedicate all oil revenues and mineral royalties to the Big Push program.
A lot later, we'll tell you how many children are struggling in school and often labeled lazy instead of getting support due to dyslexia shortly.
You're live on News Central. I'm Kemeni Amana.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
In our first story, the High Court Human Rights Division has struck out suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu's application for judicial review. The court described it as an abuse of the court processes and for lack of jurisdiction. In a suit to the court, Chief Justice Tokonu said the committee's hearings already conducted should be declared as not happened because the committee was not properly constituted. Its processes were irregular and that the committee did not give her her day in court. Shortly, we'll talk to our court correspondent. But first, let's take a listen to the Chief Justice at her very first and last news conference.
It is this total absence of compliance with all known rules of fair hearing that has caused my lawyers to file application for judicial review in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void. Because the clear danger is that through this flagrant violation of CI 47,
Gertrude Tokonu there. We'll stay on this subject now and connect with our court correspondent, Sixtus Dong Ulu. Sixtus, let's talk about the event today. Well, now, before we speak to Sixtus, let's share with you the journey so far up until where we are today. The CJ's concerns so far include the proceedings being held by the committee on May 15, 2025, where she says that that should be declared null as they violated her rights to a fair hearing. Her other concern also include the fact that she's yet to be furnished with authenticated copies of the petitions against her. Remember, she makes this very clear at the news conference. She's asked the court to halt the removal processes, declare that the committee is not properly constituted, and also order caution all proceedings of the committee so far. Also, there you have it, the concern she's raised, what she wants from the court today. We know the court has thrown out the matter. The court says that it lacks jurisdiction, but also said it constitutes an abuse of court or judicial process. Joining me now is Martin Pebu, who's a private legal practitioner. Martin, thank you so much for your time here. But what do you think about this? She hits another dead end.
Yes. What should we say?
Well, I was asking your thoughts about the court proceedings today. We know the court has said this is an abuse of process. Alongside that, they also lack jurisdiction to hear the matter. She hit another dead end, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that? It would appear we lost that connection. lost that connection with the Martin Kpebu, who is a private legal practitioner. We've been talking about the Chief Justice. Remember, she took a matter to court and hoping that because, according to her, her rights were violated, the court will hear her case and agree with her that indeed her rights were violated. And so the removal processes against her should be halted because, again, she also adds that the committee is not properly constituted. Right? But we know that from what our court correspondent has been reporting so far, the court says, look, this is an abuse of our processes. We lack jurisdiction over this matter and has thrown out the case. Whether or not this means she's hit a dead end is what we're trying to find from private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu. But this is what has been going on so far. The Chief Justice has lost that case so, tentatively because it's been thrown out of court. While we wait to reconnect with the resource persons, including our court correspondent, listen attention to something else. Really important legal matter because the former board chair of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Paul Adom Otre, has rejected accusations of possible involvement in a contract being probed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor for possible corruption-related offences. Now, he maintains he did not sign the said contract as he accuses the investigative body of engaging in witch hunt. Adom Otre is to appear before the OSP later today. Now, he has been speaking ahead of this matter on his own program.
This is what we know, and this is how it works. The board told them that, yes, you have told us what it is, but there's no real evidence. You haven't given us any evidence that, in fact, we are losing money. And then they said that to do that, we have to work with your management to come and tell you, because we need access to your systems. When we get access to your systems, then we'll be able to tell you in the things that are the revenue that's happened already. So today is July. They will take last year's revenue and show you that this revenue that you got 1 million cedis, you could have gotten 3 million cedis. This revenue that you have 2 million cedis could have gotten 6 million cedis. So the management gave them that, and then they did that. And then the management brought them to the board the second time and said that people have finished their work, so let the board hear them. So the board heard them. And then they seem to know what they are talking about. They seem to show that, yes, revenue was lost and revenue can be gained. So the board told management that, okay, go ahead, which is also normal. The board tells the management, MD and your people, go ahead and work with them and report back to us. So they did, and they went to work with them. And then we continue our meetings. I had forgotten about it. I don't know anything about it. It was Manasseh Azuri who told me that the contract had been signed by the managing director on 4th of December, 4 days or 3 days to election. And I said, well, okay, I don't know. I didn't know. This conversation is about 2 weeks ago. I didn't know whether the contract has been signed. I didn't find out whether the contract has been signed because it's not necessary. The board has finished its work. Whatever management does, if the management need the board again, they'll come back to the board.
Right, so let's hear from the journalist who's just been mentioned in that editorial by Paul Adom Otre, who's now at the center of this investigation, right? The investigative journalist, Manasseh Azuri Awene, responded to Adom Otre's comments, confirming prior communication and accusing Paul of failing to respond to agreed questions despite repeated promises. Manasseh challenged Paul's denial of knowing the company behind the GACL contract, claiming he had earlier admitted meeting his owners with documented evidence showing prior interactions even before board discussions. He also dismissed Paul's claim that the deal involved no payment, citing past revenue assurance contracts where companies received millions without proving any actual recoveries. Well, as the story continues to develop, remember that Paul Adom Otre will be meeting the OSP today to answer questions. We'll bring you that in subsequent broadcasts.
And we'll be taking you back to the courts pretty shortly because quite a number of developments there, which will bring you details of. But right now, let's do politics because the governing National Democratic Congress will conduct its parliamentary primary to elect its candidate for the Akwatia by-election on August 4, 2025. Now, picking nomination forms was from July 28 to yesterday, July 30. Balloting is expected to take place today, and 3 persons picked to contest for the primaries Henry Boache, Bernard Bediako Beidu, and Erasmus Kone Ali. The Electoral Commission, meanwhile, they've set Tuesday, September 2, 2025, for that by-election. Let's take you to Akwatia and the Eastern region, to be specific, where Yvonne Nikwe is on standby with a bit more details. Yvonne, balloting expected today. Has that come off just as yet?
Well, Eric, as I speak to you, the vetting process has ended very smoothly. Balloting done. What we're seeing is a number of the aspirants, at this point we can call them candidates because they've gone through the vetting process, speaking to us, the media, about their intentions for the Akwatia constituency. What it means is that August 4, every delegate who matters in Akwatia constituency will go to the post to elect just one person to represent the NDC in that constituency. We're seeing the national and regional executives here urging them to ensure that it becomes a peaceful internal primaries for them.
Intense primaries. Do we know in the order of which these candidates will be seeking to have delegates vote for them next week?
If I heard you right, you're asking if all the delegates would be voting.
You mentioned that balloting has been done. Do we know the order in which the candidates are seeking votes from the delegates?
Okay, so in order of what has happened here this morning, the first on the ballot is Bernard Bediako, the second on the ballot is Erasmus Kone, and then the third on the ballot is Henry Boache. So in that particular order, 1, 2, 3. That's how they ended up today.
Finally, on the delegates, how are you expecting all of them to partake in this exercise? You were seeking to explain that to us as well.
Well, the committee governing the process is yet to give us the official number of delegates that will be voting on Monday's exercise. We're hoping that before we leave this place, we'll get the particular figure. But of course, for everybody who voted before in the 2024 elections to elect the, as it were, Henry Boache. Now, correction here, Henry Boache did not go to a contest for that particular election. And so the delegates register could not be anything we can talk about. So we still have to wait for the end of the day to know exactly how many people in that constituency who will converge at Akwatia to do the voting come Monday.
Right then, Yvonne, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Yvonne Nikwe in the Eastern region, Akwatia to be specific, where following the unfortunate demise of the Member of Parliament for the area, NSEL Kumi, the Electoral Commission has set September 2 for that by-election. The NPP, they have their own candidate following an acclamation, one that received massive support from all other previous candidates, I must say, all present in the legislature where the Eastern Regional Chair of the NPP made that declaration. The NDC, they are going through a process of electing a candidate who will be on the ballot paper as a resident in Akwatia, will seek to vote and elect a new Member of Parliament. But we'll take you back to court because I mentioned there's been quite a number of developments there where the High Court, that's the criminal division, has dismissed an application by former Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta seeking to strike out a warrant as issued for his arrest by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Mr. Ofori-Atta had argued that the OSP unlawfully obtained the warrant and asked the court to set aside all related proceedings, including an Interpol red notice alert. However, the court this morning ruled that the application lacked merit and dismissed it in its entirety. And if you'd recall, the Office of the Special Prosecutor somewhere earlier this year issued that Interpol red notice alert for the arrest of Ken Ofori-Atta somewhere in March. The OSP subsequently withdrew that red notice, but it didn't stop Ken Ofori-Atta and his lawyers from proceeding to court, asking that the court bars the Office of the Special Prosecutor from, in the future, putting his name on red notice amongst many other things. But the court has outrightly dismissed that. We know that the OSP has put Mr. Ofori-Atta back on a wanted list. There's an Interpol red list as well, and there are efforts underway for his extradition to the state over some investigations currently ongoing with respect to his time as finance minister under the Akufo-Addo administration. But we're staying on the subject matter of the courts, where we're taking you there right now. On that first story we brought you about the High Court, the Human Rights Division striking out the Chief Justice, the suspended Chief Justice's judicial review request. 6 Dong Ulo is my colleague in court for us. Let's connect with him for a bit more details on the argument and the justification that has been coming from the court. 6, talk to us. She was seeking, amongst many other things, the court to affirm that her rights were being abused by the Article 146 committee. Walk us through what the argument of the court was in dismissing her judicial review.
You are right to have put it the way you put it. And the court said that if you go through the arguments that have been put up by the Attorney General and lawyers for the Chief Justice, it cannot be said that the Chief Justice is using the court for its rights purposes. And the court is particularly concerned that the issues that came before it are not matters that are within its jurisdiction. You recall some of the key arguments that the Chief Justice made, both before the court and at a press conference where he openly voiced some of the misgivings about the committee and its operation. For instance, you'll recall that he spoke about the way he was subjected to bodily tests, which bodily tests he described at the time as inhumane, and he said that it was not something that should have been condoned, and he thought it wasn't proper, even given the weight of the office as Chief Justice of the Republic. And so he thought that it was not right. You also recall he made the argument about not being availed to authenticated copies of the petitions as had been presented to the presidency against her. Her argument has always been that for my removal, that petition has to be received by the presidency and further transmitted to me, the person who the complaint is against, so that I can adequately respond to it. But as he mentioned in all of the press conferences and the submissions that he had made also before the court,
right,
he said that he was not granted those topics. And so
6, right, 6, if you could kindly reposition, there's a bit of a difficulty in being able to hear your submission as clearly as possible, or possibly position in the direction in which you're speaking into the phone. You've been taking the CJ's counts one after the other, not her counts, but her relief she was seeking via that review. Continue for us. Hopefully we can hear you a bit clearer now. Hello, 6.
Hi, Madam.
Yes. Yes, I was saying that we were struggling to hear you quite clearly. If you could just reposition, even if it's the direction of the phone, so that we can hear your submission a lot better. But you were walking us through the reliefs the CJ was seeking via this judicial review. She, amongst many other things, said her rights were being abused. Her family and the likes were not given access to the committee hearing, the manner in which she was being searched, amongst many other things. You were explaining the reason of the High Court.
Yes, and so based on those submissions that have been made by the Chief Justice publicly, and
well, it does appear there's a bit of a difficulty in being able to clearly hear the Chief Justice in her submission, but we're hoping to speak to private legal practitioner Martin Pebu. He's thankfully joined us on the telephone line right now. Hopefully his connection is better. Counsel, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's the verdict of the court, dismissing outrightly the review as being sought by the Chief Justice. They make an interesting argument that the matters in which she's brought before the High Court, amongst many other things, is pending before another another court. Is that justifiable enough reason to have dismissed the case, considering there's a school of thought that you can be seeking an appeal of a decision whilst you also apply for a judicial review?
Great. Yes. You can be appealing a decision and also applying for judicial review. That's correct. It's a legal principle that's well known to lawyers, okay? Yes, but in this particular case, what you find is that what the court, from the report that you give, it says the court says an abuse and they have no jurisdiction. Now, if we say she's appealing, I'm not altogether clear where she's appealing, because the matters that were before the Supreme Court, yes, the substantive matters are pending. So maybe the other way to put it is that some of these matters are indirectly pending. You know, she has the ECOWAS court case.
Right.
But that one is outside Ghana.
Of the country's jurisdiction.
So, but you know, the High Court usually, that's how come usually will be safer to see the detailed reasons of the court. So that if the court meant the ECOWAS court, okay, then that means that the Ghanaian court take the decision that if you go to ECOWAS, they will listen.
Right.
But you know, for the ECOWAS court, they have a principle that if your case is pending in the domestic court, you can still come to them and they will listen.
Yes.
But if our Ghanaian court is saying no for them, if you go to ECOWAS, don't come here, okay, that means that we are shaping a different jurisprudence for our internal consumption. Okay, so let's get the detailed reasons and then see that is really within.
Right.
Because you see, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you. Perhaps you make that point, then I'll come in.
Okay. Yes, because you see, our courts, yes, want to maximize the use of resources. You know, we don't have much resources to go around. So if the court finds that, look, these matters you are complaining about, they are also before the ECOWAS court, and so the court doesn't have any appetite to deal with it, fine. But the court also makes the case that there is no jurisdiction at all. That is the one that we have to explore to see. Meaning that the court says that all issues like this should deal with the Supreme Court. So like I said, that's new learning. Because ordinarily, a lot of us thought that the High Court can go into these matters. But if the court takes a decision that takes a view that no, once it's Article 146 for them, it should be the Supreme Court, what will happen is that then this area has to be developed. So Justice Tokonu has a right to go on appeal. Let's see if she will take that decision. Then the law around this area will be properly developed.
Right.
You know, we don't have many cases around this area. So it's difficult to stick out one's neck and say the court is right or wrong. Because for a lot of us, we thought that, yes, she could go to the High Court. But the High Court says there's no jurisdiction. Then let's see what an appeal will do. And then finally, a further appeal to the Supreme Court.
It's important you make that point, because the next question I was going to ask is whether or not the grounds for a judicial review are not entirely different from what the substantive case is before the Supreme Court, where they are seeking to enforce possible provisions of the Constitution or interpret provisions of the Constitution. So what you're saying is, these are uncharted waters again for us, which possibly we all as a country have to be doing some new learning on.
Absolutely. Your summary is very informed. Yeah, it means you really understand the case. Yes, that's all that I was trying to say. Yes, very good.
Right then, Counsel, I'm sure we'll get the reason ruling, and then we can come back to you again for a bit more. I appreciate you speaking to us as always. That's private legal practitioner Martin Pebu speaking to us this afternoon. On the latest, the High Court, the Human Rights Division, they've struck out the CJ's request for a judicial review over the ongoing processes of that Article 146 committee in looking into prima facie determination seeking her removal. But we can take it to Parliament now.
The House has approved a request by government to dedicate all oil revenues and mineral royalties to the Big Push program. The House on Wednesday also approved a multi-year commitment for select roads under the phase 1 of the program. Let's speak to our correspondent now, Christian Yale, who's in Parliament for us. Christian, what else can you report about this?
Exactly, Kamini. What we know is that the Big Push program is expected to begin from this year and would end 2028. And so for this year, which is the very phase 1, which is estimated to cost about 13.8 billion Ghana cedis, it is going to focus primarily on road projects, and especially selected road projects as were captured in the mid-year budget review presented exactly a week ago by the Finance Minister. What it means is that government, and the argument the Deputy Finance Minister advanced to the Joint Committee on Budget and Finance, they are going to ensure that they stay within this stipulated amount of 13.8 billion Ghana cedis to ensure that they meet the target. What it means is that from next year, which is the next budget cycle, other projects like hospitals and the rest could be considered under the big umbrella of Big Push program. Yesterday on the floor, the debate ensued where the former Minister for Roads and Highways, Francis Asensio-Boakye, labeled this initiative as a mere political gimmick. He is of the view that the distribution of road projects under the program are not evenly distributed. This called for a rebuttal from the current Minister of Roads, Kwame Gavin-Sagboja. We also had the minority leader as well as the majority leader also commenting on this issue. We can take a listen to the debate as it ensued on the floor yesterday, upon which or after which the House approved this request to allocate or dedicate all oil revenues as well as mineral royalties into the Big Push program.
Talked about push is neither balanced nor big nor strategic. I say this because I believe strongly that it's just a political program rather than economic efficient program. The list of programs of roads is heavily skewed towards certain regions in the country. Basic economic theory teaches us that when resources are scarce, when you are in financial constraints, you prioritize. And that's exactly that's what I'm saying. If my opponents don't understand this, I don't know what else they will understand.
My brother, you see, you have been a road minister for the Republic of Ghana. Is it just a small advice? The road minister of Republic of Ghana, it doesn't sit well where all your examples appears as if you haven't been to any other place in the country. Research means that we are taking road infrastructure to every part of the country. And if you don't like it, you can do whatever you like. When you come back, you can decide not to do road there. We shall take road everywhere we like.
If somebody says that I am aggregating, putting everything together under my administration, and I've done 13,000 kilometers, and as a result of that, even pothole patching have been included. What is wrong with it? Because you and I know that a lot of our roads are immotorable because of the state of the roads. So if you fix them and you are adding that to your achievement, there's nothing wrong with respect. With respect, and you agree with me. But it should not be created, the impression should not be created as though it is a certain big push, big push, big push. What are you pushing?
We plan to do more. He was asking where we're pushing. We're pushing on all the roads of this country. That's where we're going to push. When we finally finish fixing the financial mess that we have inherited, and we sort out the debts that we have inherited, and we begin to make significant savings, I can assure you that your complaint about discrimination will be addressed.
Honourable members, obviously, the ayes have it. The motion and the report of the committee are accordingly adopted.
Well, Christian, we've just looked at that debate on the floor of Parliament from Wednesday. What are we to expect today?
Kemini, I can tell you that today the House is expected to resume the consideration of the Social Protection Bill 2025. Last night, just around 11 p.m., MPs were sitting to consider that bill. One concern that came up was about how some first-time MPs seem not to be abreast of the legislative drafting process. And also there are debates about how some senior members of parliament are not showing up during these consideration stages to profile or to even give out their knowledge when it comes to the legislative drafting process. And so that is surely going to resume today. And also because it is expected that the House would adjourn Senate or go on recess tomorrow. We just expect to go deeper into the night today as well, and even tomorrow, where more bills on more legislative instruments and approvals would be made by the House.
Well then, Christian, grease to your elbows. Thank you so much for talking to us. Christian Yale is our parliamentary affairs correspondent. You're here on News Central. We'll take our very first break. When we come back, we've got a few more stories coming your way. Don't go away.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sinyane,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News. First in
Let's start regional hub from the Ashanti region, where the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, there has underscored the importance of sustained dialogue between government and teacher unions to tackle pressing challenges in the education sector. At its 54th Regional Delegates Conference, the association acknowledged the need to uphold teaching standards, but raised concerns over the current teacher licensing renewal system, which relies heavily on continuous professional development point. The union argued that the mechanism requires urgent review to better serve educators. Speaking at the conference, the Ashanti Regional Chair of NAT, Techi Prosper, emphasized that while the union does not outrightly reject the current framework, its implementation disproportionately benefits certain individuals within the education system.
We are happy that within this period, the issue of renewing our license, which was to be based on point building, we are not against it, but we think that the system that had been put in place, established, wouldn't help our teachers. And it was only inuring to the benefit of some individuals within the service. How can you run a workshop, download staff online, pick fees from our teachers in the name of CPD points building? Was it about extorting our teachers or catering for the professional needs of our members? And I know you know the answer. Today, your licenses have been renewed. Going forward, I know mechanisms will be put in place to recognize the experiences gained in the classroom.
Let's take you to the region right now, where my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring this conference. Ibrahim, what more has the association been saying at this conference?
Now, some of the key topics they have been tackling which have to do with curriculum modernization, even though they do admit that the new curriculum is an improvement on the earlier one, but they feel that it can be modernized in a way that it will be able to fit into the global standard. Then secondly, they are also looking at sustainable education funding, because over the years, policy regarding education will be implemented, educational projects will start, then will halt along the line. So they want sustainable funding for it so that we wouldn't be seeing some of these things. Then thirdly, which to them is most important, is strategies that can be used to retain teachers. That is through maybe professional development or opportunities. We do know that there has been mass exodus of teachers and leaving the shores of the country to other countries to seek for greener
Ibrahim, yeah, we can't hear you. Greener pastures. What more? We know that
exactly.
We know that the Ashanti Regional Minister was there as well.
Exactly. So he has also been talking about government renewed commitments to improve education, especially welfare of teachers, and also infrastructure, so that education will see the kind of improvement that government is looking up for. So let's listen to what Dr. Mwakohene has been saying.
And he's even seeking to even do more next year, so that every child anywhere would be able to benefit from education and from your teaching as well. Beyond that, in February 2025, during the State of the Nation address, His Excellency pledged a 20% salary allowance for teachers who accept posting to rural and underserved communities as part of the broader educational reforms. His Excellency the President wants me to assure you that this commitment is one that he holds dearly and is going to ensure that it is executed to the goal. To further deepen this commitment, His Excellency the President has showed out that we should not construct any school without making provision for the construction of teachers' bungalow in addition. So all the new school projects you see us undertaking this year and the years to come would definitely see an attachment of teachers' bungalow in same regard.
Dr. Frank Mwakohene, he is the Ashanti Regional Minister. Earlier, my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar.
Now, it's a national health reform program that seeks to provide health care at the doorsteps of rural communities. The Community-Based Health Planning and Services Initiative, you may know it, at CHIPS compound. My colleague Christopher Mwako was in Suma in the Savannah region and reports that lack of electricity and dilapidated nature of the CHIPS facilities is putting the lives of residents at risk.
Many community-based health planning and services CHIPS compounds in Ghana operate without essential infrastructure, posing significant challenges to healthcare delivery in rural communities. At the Soma CHIPS compound in the Solatuna Kalba district, pregnant women are delivered at night using torchlight due to the lack of electricity.
Push! 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 Now light it well. Let the torchlight come. Let the torchlight.
With an almost dead torchlight, the health workers safely conduct delivery.
You can see that the lady came, this pregnant woman came in the night. So there is no light. We have to use the torchlight, and then the torchlight is not all that lightening. So it's solar that I'm using. So if the sun is not there, the torch, it cannot light well. You see that it's a challenge to us. She came in the night, so we have to use the torchlight. It's a challenge. So if you can do something about it.
The situation is further worsened by inadequate infrastructure, while a CHIPS facility project lies abandoned. Health workers are forced to improvise by using wooden beds for admissions and nails hammered into the walls as drip stands.
The delivering beds, it's just this year, 2025 February, that they brought the delivering beds and then the palpation bed for us. But the beds for the clients, if we are using wood, we don't have any metal bed. So that one, we face challenges about it. And then the drip stands, we have to nail a nail on a wall that we can hang the infusion there, which is all causing problems to us.
For residents of Soma, completing the abandoned CHIPS compound and implementing the rural electrification project are crucial for the development of the area.
So let me put it that way, those working there, the number of nurses there, they are okay, but the materials that are not sufficient, the building, the drugs and other equipment that they could use to deliver quality health services are not there. But we are much particularly about the structure. We don't have beds and other things that the nurses could use to do their work perfectly.
District Chief Executive of Solatuna Kalba, Saka Sinkina, says the Assembly will liaise with the appropriate government agencies to address the challenges.
You know, the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, promised to reset Ghana.
that is to bring more development to our people. And I'm very sure that Solatuna Kalba district will not be left off. All these challenges that I have enumerated, I am confident that very soon, very, very soon, all these challenges will be things of the past before.
The CHIPS policy is a national health reform program that seeks to provide health care at the doorsteps of rural community members, particularly women and children, as well reduce health inequalities and promote equity of health outcomes.
This structure you see behind me serves as the ANC unit of the Soma CHIPS compound here in the Solatuna Kalba district of the Savannah region. For some years now, the health workers here have to manage in this facility to render ANC services, especially during the rainy season. Now, all they're asking for is for the Solatuna Kalba District Assembly to provide them with a befitting structure where they can render ANC services.
Goal 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals targets ensuring access to quality health care for all by 2030. With the government planning to construct approximately 600 CHIPS compounds across the country by the end of 2025, efforts must also be made not only to complete abandoned projects, but also to equip existing ones.
Christopher Marco.
Well, more of that story a little later in subsequent broadcasts as we keep a close eye on developments there. Right now, we'll stay up north, but turn attention to power because the Northern Electricity Distribution Company and VRA have withdrawn services in the Greater Tamale metropolis effective today, July 31st, 2025, following an attack on staff of the two companies on Thursday, which is yesterday, July 30th. Official vehicles of VRA and NETCO were stopped and seized by residents, with some drivers allegedly assaulted. Information gathered by 3 News revealed that the attack and seizure of the vehicles were as a result of failure by the managing director of NETCO and VRA to reinstate a transferred staff despite intervention of the King of Dagbon. Our Northern Region correspondent Christopher Mwako is joining us with a bit more. Christopher, what is the situation now?
Yes, so the staff of VRA have just announced that they have withdrawn their services in the Greater Tamale metropolis. And it has to do with the transfer of some members of staff of the company, which the King of Dagbon, Danyana Abukari II, pleaded with the managing director to reinstate some of them. Unfortunately, he's yet to do so. And so the king informed the Bupena, who is the paramount chief of the Tamale area, to, as it were, engage the MD to ensure that the said staff who was transferred is reinstated. Unfortunately, the MD, we are told, did not honor the invitation of the Bupena. So the youth of Tamale felt that the MD had disrespected the traditional authorities. And so yesterday, around 6:30 p.m., any vehicle of VRA that was flying the various principal streets of Tamale were seized and taken to the Bupena's palace. And so as a result of this, the staff have decided that they are going to lay down their tools and also express their displeasure over the attack and seizure of the company's properties.
Now, the VRA and NETCO have now decided that, look, they're taking the power. Is this supposed to affect everybody, including essential services?
What they are saying is that they are not taking the power, but they are not going to work. So, for instance, if the Kalpohin area has some faults to deal with, they don't have power, it means that they will not have any staff to attend to them to restore power. If other suburbs as well are affected or they have some challenges, those staff will be ready to render services of bringing back power to these affected communities. So as we speak, the lights is on, but in case of any fault, they are not ready to rectify them. Some people also go to the office to follow up on their meters, others go to buy power. So it means that all these services will not be rendered. So, for instance, if your power gets finished, the only option for you to do is to go to a third party that is outside the VRA office before you'll be able to get. And so that is what is happening. They are not ready to render any services from today until their grievances are resolved.
I see. And these grievances, who do they look up to resolve the grievances? We know that the Yana is already involved. How does that play out?
Okay, so they are saying that the youth went far with their actions because they don't feel safe working in Tamale. So first of all, they want the assurances that the youth will not attack any staff of NEDCO VRA going forward as a result of the incident. They also demand an apology from the residents of Tamale and for them to be allowed to go on with their duties. They are also looking forward to engaging with the traditional authorities to ensure that the right things are done. They believe that the attack is not necessarily on the invitation of the Guprina extended to the MD of the company. They believe that it's because of the power theft issues that they are dealing with in the metropolis. That is why the youth are unhappy. And you remember that weeks ago we reported that the disconnection exercise has taken the NEDCO VRA to go late in the night and at dawn. And so they feel that the youth are not happy, and that is why they are taking this action.
I see. How is the community responding to this move by NEDCO?
Yes, so as it stands now, NEDCO officials have just released the statement. The Senior Staff Association chairman has indicated that he will respond to this statement later. But we are yet to get in touch with the Guprena's Palace to also hear from them. But earlier today, when I was moving through town, I saw a lot of military personnel around the VRA office. And so I think that they have put in place immediate security measures to ensure that the VRA officers are not attacked by the youth.
Very bizarre story, but you keep an eye on how things develop there in the Tamale metropolis. Thank you so much, Christopher, for bringing us the story. Christopher Mwako is a Savannah and Northern Region correspondent and then Regional Hub.
Now, in Ghana's classrooms, intelligence is often measured by how fast you read or how well you write. But for thousands of children, the letters don't stay still. The words don't make sense. And instead of help, they are handed labels like lazy or slow. Enyenam Haliga takes a look at dyslexia.
Every child deserves the chance to read, write and thrive in school. But for some children, the words on the page do not come alive. They slip, slide and vanish. James is one of the many Ghanaian children living with dyslexia, a learning difference that makes reading and writing harder even though intelligence is not affected.
Yeah, but people call it a disability.
Do you think it's a disability?
No, it's just a different way of learning. Like, I'm really tired of people treating me like that. Like, kids with dyslexia have hard times making friends.
Across the country, most teachers have never been trained to recognize dyslexia. Many children go undiagnosed, misunderstood or mislabeled.
The one key word to approaching a kid with dyslexia is patience. You have to be patient with a child with dyslexia because they are not running on the same pace as the other kids.
But what really is dyslexia? Dyslexia is a neurological condition that affects the brain's ability to process language. It can cause difficulties with spelling, reading and comprehension, but it is not a reflection of a child's intelligence. Globally, studies estimate that 5% to 20% of people are affected by dyslexia, depending on definitions and methods used.
Before you can say somebody has dyslexia, the individual must meet 4 criteria based on the manual that we use in diagnosing. So the person must have a learning difficulty and problems using academic skills in 3 areas. And these problems, I will describe it soon, must persist for at least 6 months, and they should also be present even after the person has been given support. The whole idea is that, you see, when you see words, you must decode the word. You must decode the letters that make up the words in order to understand the word itself before you can read it. Because these individuals have a problem, usually it is a neurological problem that affects how they process language.
Dyslexia does not disappear after school, and the impact does not end with childhood. Many dyslexic children grow into adult, still misunderstood, this time in the corporate environment. Struggling as early as 9 years, Rosalind feared for her future.
Up to the age, if my mind serves me correct, I think this was around the age of 9 when it was Christmas time, and my cousin has come from Accra to visit us, and these guys brought some books and they called me that I should read the page because all of them were reading. And so when they handed me the book, I really couldn't see anything in it. I couldn't read to them. And they started making fun of me. And that was where I realized that something is wrong. I can't read. The reality really hit me once they came to visit and all these brilliant kids were reading and I couldn't read.
While Ghana's education policy mentions inclusive learning, in practice, few public schools have the training or tools to support children with learning differences like dyslexia. But a few organizations are stepping in where children are screened and supported with phonics-based learning.
Of the international schools are doing well, but not all of them. But when it comes to majority of our schools, I see that there's a huge gap. Let's step back to training college. What are the teachers being taught before they come into schools? That doesn't relate to dyslexia, but you would definitely find someone over there who is. So why are we not taking into consideration this? And we bring fantastic programs, but what I see we doing is we still boxing everybody together, thinking that if you come out with one solution, it's going to address all needs.
Back in the classroom, James is still learning, slowly, differently, but proudly. His dad says knowing what dyslexia is has changed everything.
It took us a time to identify what exactly was wrong with him. His reading and spelling difficulties was something we later picked up. And eventually when we realized it, we tried as much as possible to help him as we could as parents. The challenges of finding him a place to get his reading going and also make him fit well in the classroom were all challenges. But eventually, you realize that he wasn't the only child with such challenges.
But until dyslexia is seen, understood and supported, children with this condition will continue to suffer in silence. Enyuna Malika, TV3 News, Accra.
The subject of dyslexia, one that I think I agree with. Within our education system, a lot more people have to understand that. Otherwise,
interestingly, I think that GES does have, some training module for the teachers for children who lag behind in that area. I think the problem is we are not applying, we are not implementing it. But the GES does have something for the kids. So our teachers would probably have to abreast themselves.
Keeping themselves abreast with those modules. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon. We're back again tomorrow with another edition of News Central. I am Awena Egbeta.
And I am Kameni Amano. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye from us.